And it does frustrate me as well with regards to the Hasan situation. It's done to me as well because, well, first of all, socialism and Marxism, this is a critique of production, the critique of the productive forces that go into society under capitalism. It's not about individual consumption. I think it is incredibly reasonable and salient critique of Hasan to say he should be spending his money to finance political causes that he believes with, considering how much money and wealth that he has and the ability he has to do it, right? Absolutely agree with that. He shouldn't engage in the conspicuous consumption in which he goes ahead and splurges money on a car to make himself look good to people, to go, look at me, look how successful I am with my car. But you just say that he can't spend money on things that make him happy, on commodities that make him happy, things that he wants to spend that money on. It completely misses the whole point of anti-capitalist critique, is about the productive forces that goes into creating that chain in the first place. We don't talk about the structures that have put him into the place in which he can be that rich. We don't talk about the structures that come into place with which creates such expensive commodities in the way that we talk about the structures. All we talk is socialism is when no car. Which under, say for example, under like a marketized socialized economy in which there is no bourgeois class and people are relatively more equal, if you want to go out of your way and save up enough money to buy an expensive commodity, that's fine. I don't care. You're allowed to use your money whichever way you can. The whole point of socialism is a complete restructuring of society that will make these things far less easy to happen. That would mean they'd be less incentivized to happen in the first place. It's such a dumb discussion about whether or not he can call himself a socialist because he's bought himself an expensive car. I'm like, well, of course he can. Of course he can call himself a socialist. But, like, he's not maximizing his abilities as a socialist to agitate for his own particular belief system that he holds. Fully agree with you on that. But you can consume and be a socialist. That those two things aren't hypocritical. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Maybe this is just me, but my belief in socialism is the idea that we talk about the use value of commodities so much as though so they serve human needs. The split between luxury commodities and necessities, their use values are so different that one of these things can be marketized, i.e., luxury things that people don't need, because essentially it's all down to personal investment in these particular commodities. Whereas things that have the use value of being necessities for human life are things that should be decommodified because everyone needs to have access to them at all points because you literally cannot survive without them. But even if you create the society that I believe in where you can have a market for luxury goods and you can have decommodified essential goods, even in this situation, if you want to spend all your money in this luxury market on this really expensive car, you still can. You still can do that. It's absolutely fine. The discourse has been ruined by people who want to get an own on Hasan because they hate him or hate socialists or hate the fact that what he exists to do or what he exists with which to agitate for. They want to call him a hypocrite because it's an easy own, and they don't want to think about the overall optics of what he's supposed to be trying to agitate for in his position. And he's definitely been recuperated and consumed by the wealth that he's made, by the position that he holds, by the incentive structures of capitalism and the incentive structures of Twitch as a company. And you can make really good critiques of the way in which his rhetoric has been recuperated as well, and which has changed from burn it all down, start everything from new revolution now to maybe we should tax the rich, maybe we should engage in changes to society. I mean, like, he's still making reasonable prescriptions to how to change society at the moment, but you can tell that the incentive structure that he's a part of has changed the way in which he talks about the issues moving forward, and why it's changed the content that he produces. It's changed the way in which he markets himself and the way he markets his content to people overall as it becomes more popular and his net gets cast wider. It's a super complex issue that the idiots who try and reduce it down to just socialism is when no car, they don't understand, they don't get it. It's possible because half of them don't understand what socialism is. You don't understand about the goals of socialists and the goals of socialism overall. They just think that socialism is when no car. I think in all of the discussions that have been made so far, it's all the people who have the reasonable critiques are all leftists. We're all the ones saying, you can have your house, you can have your car or whatever, you can do that, but you have so much money, you have so much wealth, you have so much reach, you have so much ability, you're so embedded into the overall online landscape with which that you can agitate incredibly effectively for the positions that you hold. And the money that you have could be put to so many good causes that agitate for our positions and could create lasting societal change. And you don't do that. And that is the issue that I have with him at this point in time. Because if he engaged in that and further and spent a bunch of money or spent a bunch of time creating like some kind of media cooperative with which that we can further spread our views, brilliant, I wouldn't have an issue. And then whatever he has left, by all means, just buy whatever you want. It's cool. It's your labour. You've gone in. I mean, most of it is his labour. He has issues with the way in which he handles his employees, but that's not for this video. And There's also issues with the content that he uses and the way in which he reacts to it. But again, that's an issue for another video. Just to kind of summarize my issue, I think that far too much Hasan freeboots off other people's content, like with the JXE video where he's walked away from the chair or was eating throughout the whole of it without even adding anything additional to that content, right? He's not creating something that you could watch to get more from had you already watched the original content that he's watching, right? That's my overall take on that issue. I think that in cases where he doesn't do that, this freebooting is essentially intellectual theft from the people that he's reacting to, quote unquote reacting to. But at the end of the day, the money that he's gained from streaming is essentially all through donations. You can watch as much of Hasan's content as you want for free. You can engage with it completely for free, and then donate money to him if you want to. I mean, why the fuck people do donate to him, I have no idea, because if he's already rich, why are you not spending your money donating to smaller streamers who don't need the money as much as he does? Why are you gifting 10 subs to fucking Hasan when he's rich as Croesus already? That doesn't make any sense to me if you're a socialist, right? At the end of the day, the productive forces that goes into making him as rich as he is right now is what we should be critiquing, not the way in which he consumes with the proceeds of that production process. So, overall, difficult issue, but people are framing it completely incorrectly, and I dislike that. It's bad optically for socialists for us to have our main person who advocates for this being someone who engages in conspicuous consumption because it hurts our movement optically. I absolutely agree with that, but I still don't mean that makes him a hypocrite or whatever. But I agree, and I think socialists obviously should be advocating for more tax, but they should be advocating for more than just more tax, right? And the fact that his overall socialist prescriptions have then been watered down to social democratic prescriptions is part of the incentive structures that puts him to the place that he is in at the top of the Twitch hierarchy, right? I don't think Amazon would give him as lucrative a contract as much as he would if his platform was being used to tell people to riot in the streets or whatever. Out of all the people online to criticize their consumption, and Hasan isn't even that high. He's just the highest person who calls themselves a socialist, right? It's his attitude and the things that he does on his platform that I would always hold an issue with, rather than the way he spends his money.